News.
Aggies, are you ready for another football game? The Aggies are 3-0 heading into Saturday's game against Boise State. Show your school spirit and stop by the USU campus store for all of your game day needs. You'll find everything from t-shirts, hoodies, and hats to clear bags for campus events. Visit the USU campus store and show your spirit as USU plays Boise State this Saturday. Now through Saturday, mention this ad for $5 off any hat. Make the USU campus store your one-stop shop for all Aggie gear. Go Aggies.
Take your business to the next level with Cache Valley Chamber of Commerce. Whether you're looking to open a new location or broaden your marketing footprint, we'll help you expand your reach throughout Cache Valley. Serving the local business community for over 100 years, the Chamber has the staff, knowledge, and resources to help your business succeed. As a member, you enjoy numerous benefits, from exclusive discounts to social gatherings. Every month, you can choose from a variety of networking events, learning seminars, and workforce development opportunities.
Visit cashchamber.com for more info.
The following is a paid program of commercial time on KVNU. The information, offers, and claims are solely those of the sponsor and not the opinions of this station, its affiliates, management, or employees. It's time for the Garden Guide with your host, Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden.
New research suggests that people are more likely to eat vegetables if they have a tempting name.
What would life be without homegrown tomatoes? Only two things that money can't buy, and that's true love and homegrown tomatoes.
From gardening to landscaping.
Today we are going to try and create garden eyebrows. Kind of like the flowers are sprouting directly from your hair. That makes sense.
Go! Phone lines are open at 753-KVNU or 800-369-KVNU.
Kind of like eating vegetables.
It's the Garden Guide, now on KVNU 610 AM and 102 FM.
Good morning and welcome to the Garden Guide. This is Mark Anderson with Anderson Seed and Garden, and it's a beautiful day to be outside today. We've got the sun shining and the sky's clear, and I don't see too much smoke and haze, so it's looking like a great fall weekend, so we can get outside and do some things out in the garden and enjoy just being outside while the weather's still great. So it looks like 80 degrees today, perfect weather, perfect temperatures to be outside, and boy, I've been doing a lot out in the garden this week. It just seems like tomatoes are coming on like crazy. We're picking peppers. I dug up all the potatoes. Got the onions in storage. Squashes are starting to color up. Pumpkins are starting to color up. It's just a great time to be outside and enjoy the garden. And our last batch of corn's coming on as well too. So,
love corn. Corn on the cob, not off the cob.
So this is a planting that we did about the 20th of July. And so, perfect timing, 65, 70 days for maturity. It's just perfect. So I've been kind of missing that corn since first batch finished up a couple of weeks ago, and here we've got our next section coming on, so kind of excited about that. Some great things happening at Anderson Seed and Garden this weekend. So we've got our truckload sale continues this weekend and all the way through next week, and with our truckload sale, that's a lot of our fall fertilizers are on sale. So winterizer for winterizing your lawns on sale, weed-free zone, great fertilizer, slow-release nitrogen, iron, great weed killer. That's on sale this weekend as well, too. Our Humate's on sale. Green Maker's on sale. We've got just some great pricing on some of our best fertilizers, and most of those bags are anywhere between $3 and $5 off per bag. So some of our best pricing of the year for fall fertilizers, winterizers, weed and feed, and even got like Lawn Food Plus iron, so really high iron. These are all Fertilome products, of course, and some great products to apply to your lawn to get the lawn perked back up after a hot, dry summer. And this is a great time to really, encourage the lawn to come back and look good before winter creeps in. So timing should be just right. All of our remaining trees and shrubs are on sale, so we've been doing our cash sale. So currently they are 50% off, but if you pay with cash, you get an extra 15% off, so you can get it for 65% off. So there's some really nice shrubs, some great evergreens, a few good-looking trees left out there still, and some really great prices for some shrubs if you want to add a few things to your yard and garden this time of year. So cash sale continues, 50% off all of our remaining nursery stock. There's a few items, just a couple, less than a handful, that we don't have on the sale. And then we've got fall mums in too, and the mums look great. So they're just hitting full bloom. They look amazing if you want to add a little bit of color to your yard. We've got really good selection of mums. They're just right there by the back gate, and they are blooming like crazy and look absolutely amazing for fall. And they can handle the cold too. We escaped a little frost. Did you have frost at your house, Bill?
Yeah, we've a little bit. Yeah.
So what?
I guess our hard freeze earlier didn't really manifest itself.
No, it was
too
Monday, Tuesday. There was just like a little bit of frost around the valley, so not too bad. Didn't have frost at my house, so everybody's doing great at our house. But it seems like other parts of the valley got hit with a little bit of frost. So that's one thing we can talk about on the show today is how to get your tomatoes to ripen up, how to get your peppers to ripen up, because we've got probably about 2 weeks. It's always about 2 weeks, 3 weeks after that frost that we can escape in September when it sneaks back in again.
So that's kind of the countdown.
Yeah. We're in the tail end. We're down in the home stretch of the gardening season. So this is the time to try and get those tomatoes to ripen up before we get that next frost, get the squashes to ripen up. So that's a great question for us to maybe cover today on the show. But like I said, mums are in, look amazing. We've got all of our nursery stock, remaining nursery stock, cash sale, 50% off. Come in and pay with cash, get 65% off instead. So a really great deal. And our truckload sales going on right now. Bulbs are arriving. We've got 2 more big shipments of bulbs coming in this week, and then we should have everything. They've been delayed this year because of those 2 hurricanes that hit the East Coast. So that really kind of pushed all the shipping containers back probably about 10 days. And so our bulbs are showing up late this year, unfortunately, because of weather conditions. And so we should see a bunch of tulips and daffodils, hyacinths really hit the store this week. Garlic's looking great. We've still got about 18 varieties of garlic. And boy, we've taken some home, and it's been just absolutely delicious. Yeah, some nice fresh roasted garlic. So.
Oh, that is so good.
Not too bad at all. Looks like we've got some callers already.
Just right off the bat, 2 callers. First up is Richard from North Logan.
Good morning, Richard. Welcome to the Garden Guide.
Yes, my question is, I've always wondered when is the right time to cut this year's vines in raspberries. The reason I ask that question is I always seem to lose some of my very best canes, which I think is to freezing.
Which is a possibility. So what we like to do is, do you know which kind they are? Are they June bearing or are they everbearing?
We've been here 40 years and probably heritage.
Okay, so a heritage everbearing. So with the everbearing, there's 2 different ways to prune them.
Let me take it back. I'm wrong. No, they're spring bearing.
Okay, so they produce in the middle of the summer. Okay, probably can be. Do they have like very, very minor thorns?
Very, very small.
Okay. All right. So you probably got Canby then. All right. So with those raspberries, usually right after they're done producing, midsummer, usually July-ish or so, we'll take those canes and the ones that have produced fruit, we'll cut those out right down to the ground. So any canes that you've got right now that have fruited, you're going to want to just completely take those out and just take them right down to the ground and just take those old canes out. For the fall, depending on how much they've grown this year, usually we'll trim them back to about 3 or 4 feet and just take the tops off. And you can do that either this fall or you can do it first thing next spring. Doesn't really matter a whole lot. So even if you do get a little bit of frost damage or winter kill back, a little bit of dieback, that's all right. We want to trim those down usually if they're really, really long and they're 6 feet tall and they're kind of arching over and ready to fall all over the place, we'll usually trim them down a little bit just to protect them from getting broken in the wintertime. But I'll usually go back in the spring and trim them down to about 3 or 4 feet. And believe it or not, this is a really good time to throw a little fertilizer out there, a little bit of iron, some sulfur, maybe a little bit of nitrogen, so they can feed on that all winter. Then when I prune them in the spring, I'll do the same thing. I'll hit them with some nitrogen, some iron, some sulfur, and really get those going, because the new growth that comes up next spring is what's going to produce for you next year. And the canes that we trim down either this fall or next spring, those older canes, they're the ones that are going to produce for you next summer. And so you don't want to prune too aggressively, otherwise you'll take all your crop out.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. You are so welcome. Thanks for calling this morning, Richard. If you have ever-bearing raspberries, you can prune them exactly the same way and get 2 crops off of them, or you can prune them very aggressively in the springtime and just cut them all right down to the ground, and then, of course, fertilize, and then you'll get a really heavy fall crop off of those raspberries, off of all that new growth. So there's a couple different ways to prune those raspberries. I've got some really great information on pruning raspberries, pruning grapes, on how to maintain a lot of those small fruits in our fruit growing guide, which we have copies of at Anderson Seed and Garden. It's about a 100-page book, and it just talks about all the practices for growing small fruits, but also all your larger trees as well, too. So peaches, nectarines, apples, cherries, plums, pears. It's got all the information on the fruit trees in there. But we also have that same information available for free on our website as well, too. So that's all there, so you can learn how to prune and prepare and fertilize and harvest and take care of all those berries. So thanks for calling in this morning, Richard. We appreciate that phone call.
And we have somebody else,
all right,
too.
Phone lines are open, so we can sneak some more callers in. 753-5868, 753-KVNU. Who's up next, Bill?
Great friend of the program, Todd,
all right,
from Logan.
Good morning, Todd. Welcome to the Garden Guide.
Good morning, Mark and Bill. How are you guys today?
We're doing really well.
Good.
Good. That's good to hear. Go Big Red, go Aggies, right?
There you go.
Hey, Mark, I know that you talked about raspberries and blackberries a couple weeks ago. I think you did. My wife said you did. Anyway, our raspberry patch, I told you, bit the dust because a virus caught a virus or something. And we're thinking about getting rid of the whole patch and starting from scratch. And while we were up in Twin Falls various times this summer, Lynette fell in love with blackberries.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering, is there any way we could do half and half in that bed, in that bed that we have along the fence? Could we split it half and half, or is there a risk involved with that? How would you go about that?
They can grow side by side, and you won't have any problems with them because they're propagating from root system and not from seed. And so they're not cross-pollinating or doing anything like that. So that shouldn't be a problem. And there's some great varieties. I know this year we planted a new variety of raspberries, which is a thornless everbearing, and it's called Joan J, and it's got some great disease resistance built into it as well, too. So that would be an excellent variety for you to try. If you
Joan J?
Joan J.
Okay, because I think my wife would appreciate that because she comes in with the thorns, and she has a rash all over her arms and stuff.
Yes. The Joan J is a thornless everbearing, and they are amazing fruit, wonderful quality, and you don't have the scratchiness of all the canes as well, too. And then for blackberries, I would probably recommend either... Well, the Arapahoe is really good. That's a great variety. There is also a bush variety, which might be great for you to plant because your area is a little bit smaller. And this one is not as aggressive. And I'm trying to think what that one's called. It is, and it's a bush. It's a bush variety. It'll take me a minute, but I'll think of it, Todd. Usually we plant like Arapahoe and Triple Crown, and both of those are really, really good. But I'm trying to. It's like Brambleberry or off the top of my head, I can't think of it. Yeah, off the top of my head. So, but those would be excellent. So those would be very, very good.
So what we would do, we want to just get rid of the whole plant of the raspberries like we talked about. So just dig them all up and stuff and prepare the ground. How would you go about that?
Yeah,
because the boar got to it really bad this last.
So definitely want to put some soil conditioner in there. So like soil building compost would be great. The Garden Max would be awesome. Work that into the soil. Light and loose and fluffy would be perfect. The blackberry. Yeah, it's called Baby Cakes.
Baby Cakes.
Yeah, Baby Cakes is the bush.
Do you guys carry those?
Blackberry. Yes, we do. They usually don't come like first thing with the bare root sale. They usually come in containers. And so, Baby Cakes, and it gets about 4 by 4. So it's not a really big, aggressive plant, but you get really, really nice blackberries off of it. So soil building conditioner. Don't use steer compost. So avoid the steer, but you can use poultry would be great. So that's why I like the soil building conditioner. That would be excellent. Zeolite, anything to loosen and lighten that soil up so that it has really good drainage, and till that in. And then if you find plants this fall, you could plant anytime this fall. But but you can also wait till spring. And do it in March or early April. Don't wait until the end of April, 1st of May. That's when they start to struggle. They have a hard time.
Okay. Yeah. And then to prevent the borer in the ground again, you tell me this 100 times, and Lynette tells me to write it down, and I never do. So what would you prevent it for the borer to get in the ground? There's 2 borers you tell me about.
Right. You're supposed to write it down, take a picture of it, and then it's in your phone for like ever. Or just put it into your notes, in your phone. So then at least you can carry your memory around all the time. So I was talking.
I write down all your archives of your notes that I'm taking notes on all your archives.
Oh, very good, very good.
But I forget the stupid name to treat the borers.
So for borers in the raspberries, we want to use permethrin. So we're going to use the permethrin. And there's 2 different borers that can attack the berries. One is a crown borer, which attacks the roots and the crowns, where the canes are coming up out of the ground. Yeah. They're the ones that can do a lot of damage. They'll take your whole patch out just in one season. And so usually, timing-wise, it's the latter part of April, first part of May. You want to just drench the soil. So mix it up in a watering can.
Yeah.
Water the plants with it, and then the permethrin's down in the soil for about a month to 6 weeks. Controls those as they start to damage your canes. For the cane borer, which attacks, it's a looks kind of like a wasp, the adult does, but it comes in and it lays its eggs right on the canes, higher up, usually about 2 feet up off the ground, and they will lay their eggs there. The larva will hatch out, they'll bore into the cane and then go straight up. Those we want to spray right before they bloom, and again right after they're done blooming about 2 or 3 weeks later, and we use the same product, use the permethrin.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before blooming and after blooming.
And then after bloom. You got it.
I got it written down and taken a picture of it now, Mark. So we're good for that.
Perfect, Todd. Perfect.
Okay. And another question Lynette wanted me to ask you. With the powdery mildew on the squash that I told you about, we had.
Yes.
Is there something we can prevent that with? Prevent that from coming?
Yes. And
so she did remind me it does come every year.
Every year about the same time. Usually it's the end of July, 1st of August when things kind of get going. We start getting that monsoonal moisture that starts to come up from the south, and we get really warm days, cooler nighttime temperatures once we start getting into August, and that's when the mildew takes off. And so preventatively, I would use either the copper soap from Natural Guard, or I would use the Complete Disease Control from Monterey. And both of those are natural. You can use them right up to the minute you're going to harvest. Very safe to use, but very, very effective. And I started to see a little bit of mildew showing up about the second week of August in my garden. And I just got busy, and so I never really got after it. And it's pretty much taken out all my squashes. Hasn't bothered my cucumbers, but it's taken out the squashes. But I did treat the cucumbers with the disease control about the end of July. So
that's when it took out our squash.
Probably why. But all the squashes are almost done producing. My pumpkins are all starting to color up. So I mean, it's okay. I'm not worried about it.
Okay, well, that sounds good.
All
I
right.
appreciate your help with that this morning.
Awesome. Hey, thanks for calling this morning, Todd.
And later this week, I'm good.
All right. That sounds like a plan.
Okay. Hey, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. We'll see you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. We've got phone lines open, 753-5868, KVNU. And you're welcome to call in and join us here on the Garden Guide. We're answering questions. We're talking about raspberries, blackberries. We were talking bulbs earlier in the show. Truckload sale going on at Anderson Seed and Garden. Great time to come in and get fertilizer. So not only is it a perfect time for fertilizing the lawn and planting new grass, but also a great time for controlling weeds as well, too. So we're seeing lots of crabgrass, seeing lots of spurge, morning glory, thistles. I've got people coming in with Burr Buttercup that has like taken over their garden and patios, and this is like the best time of year to control weeds. Like there's no better time. Cool nights, hot days. The herbicide works just perfectly on the weeds, but with the temperatures changing and winter and fall setting in, that's when the plants are trying to store energy for the wintertime, and so they're pulling nutrient down in the root system. They'll grab that herbicide and just like pull that right down in the root system and kill the whole plant out much more effectively than they would otherwise. So for a lot of those broadleaf weeds, Weed-Free Zone just doesn't get any better than that. It really does a great job. Works in cooler temperatures, works on the hardest to kill weeds, works fast, biodegrades out in about 5 to 7 days, so you can replant right back in that same area. So this is a great time to really get a bunch of those weeds under control before fall really, really sets in. So didn't we?
Yeah, right now. Next up, we have Vicki.
All right.
In Smithfield.
Great. Good morning, Vicki. Welcome to the Garden Guide.
Hi. Hey, I brought in my banana squash,
yes,
and I put them in my garage with ventilation, but I'm wondering, should I put them in the basement where my garage in the afternoon still getting warm?
Not quite yet. And so great question. What I like to do with my squash is when I harvest them, I will trim them off the vines with a pruner, a nice clean cut, leave about 3 or 4 inches of stem left on the fruit if possible. Sometimes you have to go a little shorter, but usually try and leave about 3 or 4 inches of stem left on there. Then put them into a warm, dry location. So if it cools down at night, that's great, but warm and dry is the best place to kind of cure those squash and pumpkins so that they will store a little bit longer. So warm and dry. On a crate or on a pallet, so they have good air circulation around the fruit. That would be excellent. And we'll leave them there for usually 2 to 3, sometimes 4 weeks until they develop that nice hard exterior skin. And the best way to tell if that skin's kind of cured and hardened up and is ready to go into storage is to take your thumb and just kind of scrape the skin, just scrape it with your thumbnail, and if a little bit of moisture bubbles up to the surface where you've scraped it, then it's still curing. If you scrape it and it's hard as a rock and you about break your fingernail off, then they're ready to go, and then you'd put them in the cool location for storage, down the basement cellar. Okay.
Do you have to put them on a pallet down there?
It's best if you can. It's best if you can. So if they sit right on the ground or on the concrete, they'll start to deteriorate there first. And so if you can get that air circulation around them, they will keep even longer. And so it would not hurt to have them on a crate or something. Yeah.
So I've already cut them off, and I didn't leave any stems. So
that's okay.
I just need to eat them now?
Nope, they'll still store. They'll still store great.
Okay.
Yeah, if you leave a little bit longer stem, and it seems like they store a little bit better, and there's less likelihood to do damage to them. What I've found is when you're harvesting them, you want to be gentle with them, because if you get any scrapes or bumps, that's usually where they start to deteriorate first. And so we'll be really gentle with the wheelbarrow and gathering those up. If you're tossing them around and they get bumped, then they don't keep quite as well. But it just depends on how many you have and how much squash you like to eat through the fall. But we had a lot of fruit last year, just so much. I didn't think we'd ever get rid of it. And then I had mine curing in our barn, and in mid-October we had that really, really hard frost, and usually they're well protected in the barn, and it froze a bunch of them in there, so we lost half of ours last year. So kind of watch for really cold temperatures if you're still curing them in the garage, and if it looks like it's going to get really cold, bring them inside. Protect them.
Okay.
So, all right.
I was just wondering too, so it's okay, I could eat them right now, or they're not quite ready?
If they have their full mature color, and they're cured where they've got that real hard exterior to them, you could definitely start eating. You could definitely start eating them. They seem to sweeten up a little bit more in storage. So the longer they store, the sweeter they get. A lot of the starches will convert over into sugars, but you should get good flavor out of them if they have that nice mature color to them. So.
Okay, I have one that's kind of got orange, so I probably should wait.
Let it go a little bit more.
Right?
Yeah, I've got a couple banana squash, one that's like really ripe and one that's still coming, and then I've got a whole bunch of honey baby butternuts that I'm really excited about. They have just this really, really great flavor. A little smaller than your standard your standard butternuts, but they look awesome. And I've got some regular butternut and some kabocha, which is really, really good too. It's an oriental squash, really tasty.
Is butternut as good as banana? Does it taste similar?
I kind of like the butternut better because it has a smaller seed cavity, and so I don't have to clean it as much. And these honey babies are just to die for. They're just super, super good. So I'm really excited about those.
I'll have to try them next year.
Yeah. They're a little bit smaller, so they probably are. Probably 8 inches long and maybe 4 to 6 inches wide at the bottom. So they're a little smaller than a standard butternut, but they've got this really rich, nutty, sweet flavor. So really good. Very excited about those.
Sounds good.
All right.
Okay.
I know it makes you hungry, doesn't it? Yeah. Thanks for calling in this morning, Vicki.
Have a good day.
You too. Thank you. All right, we've got phone lines open, 753-5868, 753-KVNU. We'd love to have you join us here on The Garden Guide. Do you want to take a little break, Bill?
Yeah, and then we'll have Joanne. Just hang on, and we'll be back.
30 minutes after the hour, I'm Will Feel-Right with your KVNU News Update. It's brought to you by Winco Foods. A 39-year-old man has been arrested and charged with beating a 3-year-old girl Wednesday. Caleb Marble was booked into the Cache County Jail Thursday night. Marble was arraigned in 1st District Court Friday morning, appearing by web conference from jail. He was charged with 2 counts of child abuse, a second-degree felony, and 2 misdemeanors for drug possession. Cache County Deputy Attorney Andrew Crane said the Logan City police officers arrested Marble after he allegedly was witnessed yelling, slapping, and hitting the little girl in the stomach. The abuse was caught on video. Marble was seen shaking his head as the charges were read against him. He told the court he didn't hit the girl in the stomach and claimed that he was dealing with a lot of stress from being evicted and other personal problems. Marble was ordered to appear again in court on September 27th. Judge Spencer Walsh set bail at $10,000 bond, but told Marble that if he was able to post bail, he is prohibited from having any contact with the alleged victim or other minors. And federal officials say the boyfriend of Gabby Petito, whose body was found at a national park in Wyoming after a cross-country trip with him, has been indicted now for unauthorized use of a debit card. Now, the announcement this past week of an arrest warrant for Brian Laundrie came as searchers continue to look for him in a Florida swampland. The federal grand jury indictment filed in U.S. District Court in Wyoming alleges that Laundrie made unauthorized withdrawals worth more than $1,000 during the period in which Petito was missing. Well, looking at just a gorgeous forecast over the next few days as we're going to enjoy sunny skies, temperatures staying in the low 80s. Overnight temperatures are going to stay right around the mid to low 40s with mostly clear skies heading into next week. Looks like we could see a small chance of some showers coming up in this next week, but otherwise sunny skies through the weekend. Will Feel-Right for KVNU News.
From ABC Sports. Hi, everybody. I'm Todd Ann. Known for consistently shutting down opponent lineups, Red Sox starter Nathan Eovaldi had a rough go of it this time around against the Yankees.
And the pitch is swung on, hit in the air to right and deep. That ball is high, it is far, it is gone into the bullpens in right center field.
The call on WFAN, Giancarlo Stanton led the way for the Bronx Bombers with a homer and 4 RBIs. The Yanks topped the Red Sox 8-3 to move a game back of Boston for the top American League wildcard spot. Despite already being eliminated from playoff contention, that didn't stop the Twins from playing spoiler to the Blue Jays.
Byron, first pitch hacking, cracks one deep to center. Deep into the Minnesota night and gone!
On WCCO, Luis Arias and Byron Buxton provided the offense for Minnesota, who knocked Toronto 2 games back of the Yankees for the second wildcard spot with a 3-1 victory. This is ABC Sports.
Hi, kids. Today, we're going to learn the difference between dirty and clean. See this car? It's dirty. Now, watch as it goes through Green Gorilla Car Wash. Now the car is clean. To recap, first the car was dirty. Now it's clean. Dirty, clean. You get it? And for only $14.99, get monthly unlimited washes good for any of their washes, including the $18 Jungle Wash with ceramic coating.
No one thinks their vehicle's dirty until they see what clean looks like. Green Gorilla Car Wash in Logan, and now their new location in Smithfield.
Cash Arts presents legendary Western music band The Sons of the Pioneers. Like generations of fans before, you will be amazed at the band's musicianship and mesmerized by their vocal harmonies. Deemed a national treasure by the Smithsonian, The Sons of the Pioneers will take you to the great American West with songs of prairies, canyons, and wide open spaces.
Drifting along with a tumbling tumbleweed.
The Sons of the Pioneers, live in concert on September 27th at the Ellen Eccles Theater in Logan. Tickets available at casharts.org or at the Cash Arts Ticket Office. Open Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 at 43 South Main Street in Logan.
Hello everyone, I'm Keegan Garrity, candidate for Logan City Council. I'd like to invite you to stop by Willow Park this Saturday for a free community event sponsored by the Keegan for Logan campaign and Y Sound. There'll be food and local talent will be playing live music at the outdoor stage over by the zoo. I'll be there to briefly share what I hope to accomplish if I'm elected and answer any questions you might have. The event will kick off around 4:30 and go until dusk. I'll see you there.
Paid for by the committee to elect Keegan Garrity.
Aggies, are you ready for another football game? The Aggies are 3-0 heading into Saturday's game against Boise State. Show your school spirit and stop by the USU campus store for all of your game day needs. You'll find everything from t-shirts, hoodies, and hats to clear bags for campus events. Visit the USU campus store and show your spirit as USU plays Boise State this Saturday. Now through Saturday, mention this ad for $5 off any hat. Make the USU campus store your one-stop shop for all Aggie gear. Go Aggies!
From gardening to landscaping, it's the Garden Guide on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
Looks like we are back here at the Garden Guide. Mark Anderson with Anderson Seed and Garden. My wonderful producer Bill's here today too. So glad to have you here.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
It's just a great morning. Sun's out, sun's shining, blue sky.
Smoke is gone.
Football game's coming up today. It doesn't get any better than that. So,
one of the earliest games.
An early game today. An early game.
CBS television nationwide coverage. So
should be
very nice.
Should be great. If you're not up for the football game, you can absolutely go outside and work in your garden. There's so many things we can do outside to clean up. We've got perennials to clean up. This is the time to really harvest everything. We had a little bit of frost in the valley this week, so that's a precursor for a harder frost coming in October. But looking at the weather, it looks like we've got non-freezing temperatures for the next 10 days. So that means we can ripen up those tomatoes. We can let those squash mature. We can let the pumpkins turn orange. This is a great time to be outside and enjoy being outdoors. And great weather. So
if I could slip in just something my wife was wondering. Yes, we had tomatoes in a 5-gallon bucket that we grew this summer. Do tomatoes, they produce pretty good, but do tomatoes generally need to be in the ground to get really big and ripe?
They will do really well in a container. You just got to make sure your containers are a little bit bigger. So a 5-gallon bucket is a little limiting. So I've got some new varieties of tomatoes that we got samples of really late. So I started some seed. Wasn't able to transplant those until about the 1st of August. And so I put them in containers, but I put them in about 10 or 12-gallon containers.
Oh, okay.
Put a really good soil in there. And then the trick with the containers is you got to feed them. You got to feed them. Otherwise, they're not going to produce very well because every time you water them, which is almost every day when it's really hot, it leaches all the nutrient out the bottom. And so I will feed mine at least twice a week so there's a consistent source of nutrient there for them. And
just feed it with...
so like a tomato on vegetable food, you can use blooming and rooting type fertilizer. I try and use a fertilizer that's got a lot of micronutrients in it as well too. So anything from Bicor, which is local, it's made all right here in Cache Valley. So the all-purpose fertilizer's excellent. It's got great balanced fertilizer with a high dose of micronutrients. That would be excellent for the tomatoes. Higher phosphorus would be like a Pro Bloom would be excellent. And sometimes we'll alternate those so they get a little bit more of a balanced fertilizer than a high phosphorus. And the phosphorus encourages a lot more flower and fruit production. And so that's really good. Compost tea is excellent. So I planted mine the 1st of August, and they are now probably 3 to 4 feet tall, and they've got fruit set all over them. And so if the weather starts to get cold, I'll bring them inside the greenhouse and keep them going. I really want to try this new fruit because these are all like older varieties, but they've been slightly improved. So just a little bit of hybridization to get some more disease resistance and a little bit sweeter fruit. So I'm excited to see how these turn out. But yeah, they'll work great in containers like that, Bill. So
next up we have thank you. We have Joanne from Logan.
Good morning, Joanne.
Good morning, Mark. I'm calling about my tennis. I bought a couple of them and they were beautiful.
Yeah.
And I thought I heard you say that they were bulbs. Does that mean they can be planted like tulips?
They can, and they won't winter over very well, though. So our cold winters can damage the bulbs through the winter time, and so you've got to dig those up and store those and then start those up again in the spring. So not like tulips. We're going to treat them more like a dahlia. So we're going to treat them like dahlias, so treat them like your dahlias and glads. So probably if it looks like we're going to get some really cold temperatures in the next 2 weeks, you'll probably want to trim those down, dig them up, and the bulbs will have multiplied. So instead of having just one bulb there, you'll have like a multitude of bulbs. There'll be like a bunch of them. But I'll just take the whole clump and then shake the excess dirt off of them, put them in a cardboard box or a bushel basket or something, and cover them up with like wood shavings or peat moss works great, vermiculite, and then put them in a cool, dry spot and just store them for the winter time. And then usually around the latter part of March, 1st of April, we'll pull those out. You can kind of see where the eyes are coming up, where they're going to sprout, and then you can actually cut them. You can cut them apart so you have multiples, and then you can replant them in like some 1 or 2 gallon pots and get them started inside so that they've got some leaves on them and they're starting to grow by the time Mother's Day hits, when you can put them back outside again.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, they multiply like crazy. So you start with 1, the next year you've got 6, and then the next year you've got 36. And
that would be all right.
So you can share those with people that you like. Maybe you'll have so many you'll have to share them with people that you don't really like. So, yeah. All right.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome. Thanks for calling this morning, Joanne.
Bye-bye.
All right. Have a great weekend. All right, we've got some time left. We've got phone lines open, 753-5868-753-KVNU or 1-800-369-5868. So I always got to throw that 800 number in there. So, yeah.
Well, I guess with cell service now, you can 753 is good.
That works.
But we still have it.
Yep, that works perfectly.
Maybe I could ask you, you're wearing your Aggie shirt. Utah State football.
Yes.
And I think originally you said you weren't going to the game, but you have quite an honor.
Yeah, I wasn't going to go to the game today, but we had some conflict changes, and the mayor was unable to make it to the game, and we're giving an award out at the end of the first quarter, and so we'll be giving the key to the city to some unidentified person for right now, but it's kind of exciting to be able to participate in that. So I'll be going to the game, and I'll get to be down on the field there for a little bit. So it's one of the great opportunities you get when you do serve on city council. So kind of
it has its perks.
Kind of looking forward to that. Yeah, should be a lot of fun.
Well, very nice.
Yeah, should be fun. Thanks for mentioning that, Bill.
And next up we have Curtis from Clarkston has a question about box elder trees.
Good morning, Curtis.
Morning. Beautiful morning.
Oh,
beautiful morning.
Wonderful. Yes.
Got some, this might sound crazy, but I have some volunteer box elder trees.
Okay.
And I was going to transplant the one. So I don't want to leave it where it is, but I don't want to keep the female. And if it turns out to be a female, it's going to the green waste. But it's about 10 feet tall right now and 2 inches at the base. When will I know? It didn't produce any seeds this year, so I'm wondering how big they get before they'll produce seeds when you know they're a female.
That's a great question. Almost all those box elder trees are going to produce seeds. So at this point, I would probably recommend that you replace it with something else. There's not much of a likelihood that it's not going to produce seeds, and so that's something that you can kind of plan for. It's going to happen. Usually, it's when the tree's mature enough to really start producing flowers, and that's somewhere between 7 and 10 years, generally when that will start happening. But the box elders, they grow fast. They're easy to grow. They do get some insects, a little bit of disease, but I mean they're pretty resilient trees. That's why they're all over the place. But I can almost guarantee that it's going to have seeds on it.
Okay. Yeah. I understand they are native to this area.
Yeah.
So
there are some
adapted.
Yeah, there are some other maples that you could plant that don't produce seeds, but some of those do have other issues you have to deal with, iron deficiency or whatnot. There's some new maples that came out just a few years back, and the series of trees is called the Sunset Series. And the Sunset Series is a cross between a Norway maple, which is a standard green leaf gorgeous maple, and there's also some red leaf varieties, but it's crossed with a Tartarian maple, and they are very adapted to our types of soil, high alkalinity, a little heavier soil, higher altitude, and so they do very, very well in our area. And they are less prone to produce seeds, so you don't have the seeds all over the place, but they are super resistant to iron deficiency, which is usually the problem that we have with most maples around here is they lack iron. And so this Sunset Series would be a great option if you wanted to go with the different tree. So there's one that's called Ruby Sunset, there's Norwegian Sunset, Pacific, Urban Sunset, and Crimson Sunset, which is a red leaf, burgundy leaf maple that will turn really, all of them are really colorful in the fall. So those would be some really great options. Your Rocky Mountain maples do great as well too around here. Lots of those, over on the west side of the valley, and so they do well also. So you do have some good options.
Okay, one other tree question. Under power lines, so I'm looking to plant a few trees in about 100 feet there, but it's under power line. I'd like to have something decorative that would have a lot of blossoms in the spring.
Right.
But very low maintenance.
Yes.
Low maintenance. I don't want to have something got to prune all the time.
So we want a tree that's going to stay probably less than 25 feet. So if we can hit around 20 feet, that's usually, it'll stay pretty much under the power lines. There are some beautiful crab apple that don't produce fruit, or they produce a really small fruit that stays on the tree so it doesn't drop it all over the place, and the birds come in and eat it. And so there's some really great options there. Royal Raindrops, Profusion would be great. There's a double...
What color the blossoms?
Oh, blossoms on both of those, they are pinks and purples. Yeah, so Royal Raindrops, Profusion, Indian Summer's really, really, really pretty as well too. And then one of my favorites, and this is one that we planted on Center Street downtown. It's a cherry. It's a flowering cherry, but it's a extremely hardy variety. And this particular cherry only gets 20 feet tall, and it's called Pink Flare. It's a zone. It's a zone 3, so it's really hardy for our area. Most cherries are zone 5, so you would struggle with it in your area. But the Pink Flare would be great, and it produces no fruit, so no fruit at all, and really, really colorful in the fall. So you get oranges and reds and purples in the foliage in the fall. So not only do you get gorgeous flowers in the spring, but you get some great fall color as well too.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, I just going down that same line there. It's property line. I planted one of your apricot trees this spring, and it's done really well. So got a lot of extra growth on it, and I used kangaroo roots, and it's done good.
Excellent.
When I had to put a fence around it, the deer started they liked it too. So.
They nibble on stuff. Yeah, I've had to protect all my peaches, and they come and just trim it for me. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that gives me some good ideas.
Awesome. Thanks for calling this morning, Curtis.
Enjoy the weekend.
All right, you too. All right, bye-bye. Okay, we've got about 10 minutes left in the show. If you'd like to join us here on the Garden Guide, 753-5868, 753-KVNU. And at the top of the hour, we talked about getting your tomatoes to ripen up. So that's something we definitely should talk about, because we probably will have a killing frost in the next couple weeks, and we want to make sure and get as much production off of those plants as we possibly can. And so there's a couple tricks to that. One is to cut your water back. So don't water them so much so that they'll stress a little bit in between the watering. So I'm only watering mine about once every week to 10 days right now, and I'm letting them stress a little bit in between. It'll ripen the fruit up. Trim the plants back so you can get some sunlight in there. So you definitely want to trim some of that excess growth off. If you have a whole bunch of little small green tomatoes, it's okay to trim those off as well too, because they're just not going to ripen up. We don't have enough time to get those to mature and to ripen. So you can do a little extra pruning right now to open the plants up so the sunlight gets in there and ripens the fruit up. And the other thing you can do is you can cover them with a frost cloth. And so we're not protecting them from frost. We're going to try and generate some extra heat around the plants, especially at night. And if you can do that in the evening and nighttime hours, and collect all the heat that is generated during the day, and then retain that around the plants at night, then your fruit's going to ripen up a lot faster. So you can cover those plants with a frost cloth. Take it off in the morning so that the sun can really warm them up and get in there. But then put it back on in the late afternoon, early evening, and it will trap that heat in around the plants, and it will get them to ripen up a lot faster. So those are three of some very productive, effective techniques to try and get those tomatoes to ripen up a little bit faster. Who's our next caller?
We have Marilyn from Logan wants to ask about amaryllis.
Good morning, Marilyn. How are you today?
I am fine.
Great.
I have a beautiful amaryllis. It had 2 flower stalks, and the leaves are still a beautiful dark green, better than 2 feet long.
Yeah.
How do I take care of it to get another season?
That is a great question, and this is the time to bring those in so they can rest just a little bit. So the bulbs need a little bit of a rest period so that they can produce flowers. And so end of September, 1st of October, we dig ours up and trim it.
You take them out of the soil. It's in a pot now.
Yep, you can take them out of the soil. You can even leave it in the pot if you wanted to, but you're going to let it go dormant. And so trim the leaves off so that the bulb looks about like when you bought it. So you're going to trim it and leave maybe an inch or so of leaves left on there, and just cut the rest of them off. Put it in a cool, dark location for about 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks at the most. And then you can bring it back out into a really well-lit location, warmer at that point, and start watering and fertilizing, and it will produce flowers for you again. So usually a 6 to 8 week rest period for the bulbs is adequate.
I don't wait till the leaves dry up. I mean, they're so dark green, they're going to go on and on.
Yep. They would
cut them off now.
Cut them off now, and then put it down the basement in a dark location, and cooler temperatures, 40 to 50 degrees would be perfect, and let it rest for 6 to 8 weeks. And then bring it into a warm location, lots of light, indirect light, start watering and fertilizing, and get that bulb going again. You could have flowers just, January probably. I wouldn't expect to have them for Christmas. I'd be surprised. But sometimes they'll start putting up a flower bud while they're sitting in storage as well too. So
thank you very, very much.
You are so welcome. Anytime. Thanks for calling, Marilyn.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. Got a little bit of time left. Got phone lines open, 753-5868, 753-KVNU. And you said you had another question from your wife, Bill.
We've had these potted plants in front, so these creeping jennies. And I've heard of creeping jennies, but she says there's also creeping charlies.
There is creeping
charlies. Wow, that's new on me. But do these plants that we have in these giant pots out front, do they survive the winter in Utah, or will we need to bring those inside?
Depends on the type of plants, but a lot of the plants and flowers that you'll plant for producing a lot of color throughout the summer, they're annuals, and so they won't make it through the winter time. A lot of these vines, Creeping Jenny, on the one hand, is hardy enough to winter over, so that will come back year after year. So that's a ground cover. It only blooms for 2 or 3 weeks, and then it's kind of just green and leafy the rest of the year. Creeping Charlie, on the other hand, is a tropical plant, and it is probably not going to make it through the winter time. You'd have to bring that indoors to get it to survive for next year. So it just depends on the type of plant. So if it's an annual flower, it will bloom and bloom and bloom and bloom all summer long. And then with hard frost in the fall, it's going to be done. You'll have to replant it for next year. So petunias and marigolds, they're just not going to make it. Some grasses, if it's a fountain grass, they're usually not hardy enough to make it through the wintertime. But if it's a hardier perennial grass like a Carl Forester, they'll just come back like crazy the next year. Perennial flowers, they'll bloom for a shorter period of time, but the foliage is usually fairly attractive. So they're only going to bloom for 2 or 3 weeks, maybe 4 at the most, and then they're just leafy the rest of the year. Those will probably come back.
Okay,
those will probably come back.
All right, okay. Very good. Thank you for that. And we have up next Laurie from College Ward.
Good morning, Laurie.
Good morning. I have a question. We've got this. When you said Creeping Jenny, it reminded me of this weed we've got going on here. It's a viney weed, and it climbs up on bushes and trees and everything, and we can't get rid of it. Can you tell me what that's called and how to get rid of it?
I would have to see it for sure to be able to identify it for you. But to get rid of it, there's brush and stump killer works great for when you cut down a tree or a wild rose or something, and you apply it to the fresh cut. It goes down into the root system, kills the root system out so it doesn't come back. You can do the same thing with some of these aggressive vines. Even though they're spread all over the place, if you can find where it comes up out of the ground, you can cut it off, and then you can treat that fresh cut with the brush and stump killer, and it will control the whole root system so that it does not come back again next year. And so that's probably how I would go about it as well too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So these right now they have got berries on them. Is that tell?
That does help.
Or do they all have berries?
I would suspect it is a vine that's called Ampelopsis, and it kind of spreads all over the place. It's not really a maple-looking leaf, but it's kind of a big tooth leaf, and it has these kind of little white green berries on them, and they're not edible. They don't, you can't use them for anything. So, but it is very aggressive. It's a very aggressive grower. So
okay, so brush and stump.
Brush and stump. Huh? Yep, brush and stump. And I'm guessing that's probably what it is. So.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
You are so welcome. Good luck getting rid of your invasive vine. Yep, anytime.
Yep, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Do we have time for one more caller, Bill?
Yeah, it's
Laurie was our last one.
Looks like we have somebody coming in.
We've got one more in. So while he's answering the phone, don't forget it's our truckload sale. So we've got truckload sale going on this weekend all the way through next week. Great pricing on all of our fall fertilizers, Weed Free Zone, Green Maker, Winterizer, Lawn Food Plus Iron, Humate. Got some of our best pricing of the year going on right now. And beautiful selection of mums in stock right now. And all of our remaining trees and shrubs and evergreens, they're 50% off, but 65% off if you pay with cash. So great sales going on at Anderson's right now.
I think we have time for one more. Okay. I think she said her name is Beth.
All right. Good morning and welcome to the Garden Guide.
Yes, Mark, this is Beth. I'm just wondering what is the best time to divide the chrysanthemums. Mine are so big.
Yes. And they're just gorgeous right now. And usually late September through October is going to be your best time to divide those right after they're done blooming. So as soon as they're done blooming, you can trim the flower buds off and dig those up, and then you can split them into thirds or quarters or, depending on how big they are, and then replant them this fall, and they should get reestablished and take off like crazy for next year. And once you move those to the new location, you can actually trim the leaves down a little bit farther as well too. So you can trim them up and get them ready for winter that way. But wait till after they're done blooming, and then try and do it in October.
Oh, okay.
All right, wonderful.
Thanks a million.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. Thanks for calling. All right, our time is just about up, so that will be our last caller. Glad Beth could sneak in there. And all kinds of great questions today. Just you even brought some.
I know. you answered. Well, we have 7 total, so so I have 5 left for another time.
You participated aggressively today, Bill.
Because my wife has the garden knowledge. I'm still learning.
That's great. That's great. Well, at Anderson's, we've got some great things going on. Bulbs are in. Garlic is here. We should have amaryllis bulbs the next couple weeks. So if you're thinking about amaryllis bulbs, that's going to happen here pretty soon. But truckload sales going on right now, and it lasts all the way through next weekend. Best pricing of the year on a lot of our fall fertilizers between Winterizer and Weed Free Zone, and our cash sale continues. So 50% off, but if you pay with cash, you get 65% off on all of our remaining trees and shrubs and evergreens. So come in and see us this weekend. A lot of things going on, and we'll be back again next week with another edition of The Garden Guide.
The preceding was a paid program of Commercial Time on KVNU. The information, offers, and claims were solely those of the sponsor and not the opinions of this station, its affiliates, management, or employees. News and